Hey everyone, welcome to Dreadnought Mondays. Thank you for tuning in and being here. Today we are here with Erik Allen. Erik, thank you so much for taking some time to be here. If you wouldn't mind, take a minute and tell people about yourself, what you do, who you are.
Absolutely. Kenny, thanks for this time. I really appreciate it. It's an honor to be on your show. Yeah, my name is Erik Allen, and I'm the owner of Top Rated MMA. It's a podcast talks about the up and coming MMA fighters globally. And so we like to bring them on and highlight their story of why they want to get into a cage to get punched in the face. And the other show I have is called The Bearded Biz, and we talk with entrepreneurs, world changers, and success-minded people. And it's really talking with guys who have gone through the struggle and gals who have gone through the struggle, and then now they've broken through. They've gotten to that success point, and I've been blessed to speak with guys like Tim Story and Ed Milet and Brad Lee and Bedros Keuilian and many more just awesome people on my show. And so it's all about just impacting the world out there with the guests that come through my show.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And,
yeah,
when I read on your profile, Tim Story and Ed Milet's one of my favorite.
Yes, absolutely.
It's like you're perked up, if you will.
Yeah, I think I was probably late to the game, but I came across him in 2018, and when I heard him first talk, I was obsessed. Like I literally went and binge watched all of his episodes on YouTube. I went out and got his book and read it twice, and one sitting, it was just like mad, like awesome stuff. And then of course I was blessed to win his Max Out Challenge in 2018 that he had put out there on Instagram, and out of the 1 million followers, I got picked.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
I was just looking over there because I got his book sitting right there. It's
nice.
Phenomenal book. So let's jump right in. We'll talk about your background and stuff. And as well as the podcast, if you don't mind. So kind of two topics, so to speak, whatever.
Totally. Yeah.
First off, I want to jump into your podcast, kind of talk about the mindset of what you went through starting the podcast. What was the train of thought with that and how you overcame a lot of times, I know especially for me, it was like, who am I to start a podcast, whatever,
totally,
and who am I to have anything? And especially with like Tim Story and Ed Milet, you're like, I'll never get to that level. Who am I to talk to them? They're so much higher, how do you get over that and kept it going from there? Pursue.
Yeah. It's a crazy story, man. So I started Top Rated MMA. It's an apparel company. We started in 2012. And kind of the backstory is that's how it launched. It was just an apparel company. I had no idea what I was doing. Bought a bunch of clothing and said, I'm going to sell this like the era of tap out, right? And it didn't work out that way. And in 2015, I got bored with the company. I actually put it up for sale. And then some guy called me and was going to buy Top Rated MMA from me. And in that call, I said, no, I'm going to reinvent the brand and we're going to do something different. And so I stopped kind of doing my posts for just about a week or so. And then I got together with a new company and we rebranded the website, got a new logo. And I said, I'm launching the Top Rated MMA podcast. I had no idea what I was doing. Didn't even know about like getting it to iTunes. I was just going to do the video format and upload to YouTube. In fact, I did that for probably the first 30 episodes or something like that because I didn't even know how to connect it to iTunes. I didn't have a space in the house. I literally did almost my first 100 episodes of my Top Rated MMA podcast in a walk-in closet, horrible lighting, didn't even know to look into the camera. Like all I knew was I wanted to ask fighters why they want to get in the cage and get punched in the face. Right. And so it's been amazing stories to hear of like some people grew up playing or doing karate and then transition to MMA. And then you got guys come on my show that they have couple felony charges and they can't get a real job, but they can get paid to go punch somebody in the face. So, that whole transition thing. And so I had several, maybe about 120, 130 episodes of Top Rated MMA show done when I decided to launch the Bearded Biz show. And you're right. Like, who am I to get Ed Milet and Tim Story on my show? I really had no idea. Like I said, I binge watched Ed Milet's stuff after I found him in 2018 and was lucky enough to win the Max Out Challenge that he had submitted. And then I just started reaching out to people. And some of my bigger names like that I got on my show, like I think Sean Whalen was like episode number 6. And I just literally shot them a 30-second video on my phone. Hey, Sean, what's going on? It's Erik Allen. I have this podcast called The Bearded Biz. I think you'd be great for my crowd or for my audience. And I think your story is awesome. Would love to have you on. Thanks. 30 seconds, zip it over to him, Instagram Messenger. And that's how I booked 98% of my guests. And even Tim Story and Bedros Keuilian and Brad Lee, all of them, that's how I booked them through my show.
Awesome. You said something twice, if not three times, in that last couple minutes, and I want to go back to that, and because I think it really emphasizes things. But first, I want to ask you, how many episodes do you have on your podcast now, roughly?
I'm closing in on 300 combined between the two shows. So 211 currently on Top Rated May, and I think 84 or 85 comes out this week for my Bearded Biz show.
Okay, awesome. So that goes to prove, you mentioned twice you had no idea what you're doing in your business and your podcast. You did a bunch of episodes from a walk-in closet, horrible lighting, didn't know to look in the camera, didn't know jack squat. So,
Totally.
And now you're 300 roughly episodes, and you've got Ed Milet, Tim Story, and a whole bunch of others on there. So that just proof in itself that you can accomplish things. Start where you are and
totally
out.
Yeah.
You don't have to know everything right from the get-go. You don't have to be the top notch at first. You don't have to have the best of everything. I'm in a spare bedroom / office right now.
Yep. Yeah, me too. Me too. It just is what I mean. I think I've upgraded my microphone 3 times, and now and actually I'm still using the same camera that I bought originally when I first started my shows. I had moved up to a Canon T5i, but for some reason I couldn't get the audio or the video to look very clear on my end. My guests were coming in really clear, so I just went back to the original HD 1080p, webcam that cost me $70 on Amazon. And I've used that same one, and it works great for me. My whole thing was I want to start a podcast, and I want to do it as cheap as possible. And so that's kind of what I teach people too, is like, how can you start a podcast and really not spend much money at all? And so I use the free Anchor app for hosting, and I upload everything myself. I do all the editing myself in the free iMovie app and things like that. So it's been a journey. I've had to learn and teach myself, and I watched a lot of YouTube videos on how to do things. But yeah, man, I mean, when I first started, I had no idea what I was doing.
Absolutely. And to go more behind the scenes,
yeah,
some of the people that listen to your podcast, or even some of your guests that don't have as much experience, all they see is your podcast and edited and blah, blah, blah. But how has that helped you grow, with your knowledge and mindset and behind the scenes, if you will?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's all about morning routines, and it's all about setting your day up for success from the get-go. So I am a very early riser. People think I'm crazy. I wake up at 4 a.m. 6 days a week. I've been doing it for like 10 years because I still work a 9 to 5. So I get up at 4 a.m. and I get upstairs to my office and I spend some time in prayer, and then I turn on like either I'll watch a motivational speaker, or I'll turn on a podcast, or I'll get on the Clubhouse app and be listening to those guys. And so that's kind of how I start my day. And I really just dive right into editing my shows and things like that. And so behind the scenes, it's up early. I do that until about 8 o'clock or 7, excuse me. And then I go downstairs and I make breakfast for my kids before they go to school. And then I start my 9 to 5 job at 8 o'clock, actually, right here next to where I'm talking right now. And then I do that until 5 p.m. every day.
Awesome. So if you were to take Erik Allen when you first started your podcast and Erik Allen today, what differences would you see or be able to point out? Again, you mentioned them early morning and stuff, but like mindset growth, things you've learned, experiences.
Yeah. I mean, huge, massive difference. I mean, when I first started Top Rated May, I didn't have the mindset of, I'm going to keep doing this. I'm going to, I didn't have the morning routine down yet. I didn't have any, what I call virtual mentors like Ed Milet that I listen to, or Brad Lee, or, Ryan Stewman, guys like that. Like those are the guys that get me fired up. Is I listen to their shows, or I listen to Jim Rohn, and those guys are the ones that really motivate me. And I had none of that until I really started to launch my Bearded Biz show in January of 2019. So I had about a 2-year span or year and a half span there of just doing Top Rated May, where I didn't have any idea. Like I didn't have any virtual mentors at the time. I was just like reaching out and like going, okay, will you come on my show? Will you come on my show? Right. And now I'm a 100% different person. One, I lost 30 pounds last year. When I turned 40, I was like, I'm going to be the most ripped guy at 41 years old. So, mentally I had to prepare for that. And it's all about, hanging around with people that are going to motivate you. And for me, that's virtually hanging around with those guys. And I have some guys here, locally too, but virtually, I love hanging around those guys that are going to lift me up. Those, if you're an 80-degree guy, you need to be hanging around guys who are 125 degrees and they just lift you up there mentally.
Oh, absolutely. And you being at 85, speaking from experience,
Sure.
You might think you're like on top of the world, all the thing, you're a pretty smart guy, and not to say we're not, but once you get up to the 125, you're like, holy cow.
Right.
Crap.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You never want to be the smartest guy in the room. Like I have this thing on my wall from Ed Milet that says canny. It's a thing, that he does, constant and never ending improvement. And so it's just, that's how I am every single day. I'm listening to something or just trying to learn something new every single day.
Absolutely. And what a big difference it is. You may not notice it like today, tomorrow, next week, but if you look back 2 years, 6 months, huge difference.
Oh yeah. Massive.
I'd like to shift a little bit, and maybe we'll go back and forth. We'll just see how it goes and stuff.
Yeah, totally.
And more into the personal side of you. You posted. I've got my notes over here, so that's kind of why I'm going back and forth. So
sure. Yeah.
But you posted on your bio, your page, whatever, for All Guests your podcast on the Facebook group.
Mm-hmm.
That you grew up in a broken home. You declared bankruptcy. You've been in jail. Things like that. What impact did all that have growing up? Would you be the same guy you are today? How has that helped you become who you are today?
I go back to Ed and Tony Robbins, on their things is life happens for us, not to us. And I'm a very much big believer in that. I don't think I would be the same person that I am today had I not gone through the trials and the struggles that I had. Yeah, I grew up in that broken home. But as a kid, up until my parents got divorced, I didn't think I had a different life. Like I played Little League and my dad would take my best friend Dave and we'd go dumpster diving behind big stores and go find treasures, man. And then when they got a divorce, that's where it kind of took a turn for the worst. And I spent probably a good 10 years just living life on my own and just being wild and crazy. And I paid for it,
So what helped you get off of that crutch of, I had a broken home, or I was in jail, my life is miserable, I'll never amount to anything. That we can often find ourselves in that slum and stick in the slum and use it as a crutch. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
What helped you get rid of that crutch and say, no, I'm better than this. This is what happened to me. I grew from it. I'm going to go forward.
So I was, I was working at Starbucks at night after I got laid off from my job for Universal Records. And this girl came into Starbucks one night and asked me if I wanted to go to a church event. She said, it's for college age people. And I didn't have any friends. I was depressed. I said, yeah, sure, I'll go. And I got down there and I happened to know a bunch of people that were there that were from the same area of the state that I lived in before, which was like 4-hour drive from there. Right. And so it was just like, I thought, that's kind of weird. And I grew up going to church. So I've always had this known of God and being, close to God, but I walked away from him obviously for many years. And so I went there and I got connected with these people. And then I just stayed in touch with the folks of that church, right? Like I would go, and that was probably only about a month and a half before Easter of 2004. And stayed kind of in contact. I'd go help them out with their events on a weekly basis. And then, I hadn't given my life to Christ. I just was hanging out. I enjoyed being around people. And so it was actually the night before Easter, about a month and a half later, I was managing a band. We went out and we played, and then we came back and we got drunk on the night before Easter. And I woke up Easter morning in my buddy's basement, surrounded by about 15 people. And I was the only one awake. I woke up early and I just felt God in that moment say, man, you're done. And I quit cold turkey, drugs, drinking, cigarette right there. And I gave my life to Christ right there in that basement. And I called that girl that invited me to that church event. And I got her voicemail. I said, hey, I just wanted to say, thanks for inviting me to that church event. Hope you have a great Easter. And flash forward a year, we were married. And now we've been married for 16 years.
Nice.
But that was that moment. That was that turning moment for me. It was Easter morning. And I don't think it was a coincidence that it was Easter morning. That was that time. And I had a pastor tell me one time that, we're all kind of on puppet strings, and God will cut the string and retie it and bring us a little bit closer to him every time that we sin. And I felt like, my sin had finally gotten me to that point where it was the last straw, and God said, you're here. And so I was able to just quit cold turkey. I've never had any, you know, issues with trying to like go back to it or anything like that. So yeah, that was my turning point for sure.
One perspective I have, and thank you for sharing that. One perspective I've got in my own life is, you know, yeah, some of those circumstances may not be the most favorable or fortunate or desirable, but we needed them to get us to where we are now. Like, you know, if we hadn't gone through those, we wouldn't be ready for that next event or for that lesson or for that moment.
Totally.
You know, and it's not to say or imply to, you know, go party and do it anyways because we're supposed to be there. You know, don't take advantage of it in the wrong way. But
sure,
I feel that you know, we go through those things like you said. Ed said, life happens to us, for us, not to us.
Yeah.
You know, we're supposed to be there. If I didn't go through the things that I've went through, would I be ready for that day that, and you fill in the blank.
Right.
You know?
Yep.
So I love how it works out that way, you know, and then looking back, you're like, yes, I wouldn't change a moment of it.
Totally. Yeah. I don't regret hitting that dude in the head with a cast iron pan for punching my mom. I just, you know, there's days that I'm like, yeah, you get what you get coming, man. You know, and I had to go through that struggle. I had to go through that crazy scenario to get to where I'm at today.
Absolutely. You know, and it's challenges that strengthen us.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yep.
Also on your I'm going to call it profile, whatever you want to call it.
Sure.
On the I'll guess for that group, you said you talked about being a quitter. You know.
Yeah.
Let me scroll down to that. Sorry, 1 second here.
No problem.
Just so I can get it exactly. Yeah. You said being a quitter. I had to quit being average, quit being around negative people, quit thinking that I wasn't destined for greatness, you know, and I liked that.
Yeah.
That made me think of something I heard from Elena Cardone when I read her book. I don't know if you've read her book or not.
I haven't, but I heard it's awesome.
So yeah, it's a good book. I'd recommend it.
Nice.
But in there, she talks about being a gold digger. Now, if I say gold digger, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Well, you typically find, you know, I mean, it's like typically it's like the young, beautiful woman who's got the old guy who's got a lot of money, or vice versa. Maybe it's a gold digger in the reverse role, right? But that's typically what's come to my mind.
Exactly. That's what first comes to your mind. But she flipped it 180 and she's like, find the gold, find the good in yourself and others. You know, dig for that gold.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. And so when you said that, I'm like, yes, right there. You know, be a quitter. Quit the negativity. Quit the bad habits. Quit the negative talk, self-doubt. Quit hanging around people that'll drag you down. I love that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's absolutely. And, you know, I think it's just something that I had to do, and I had to quit being a quitter, man. You know, I tried and tried to do a lot of things, and I just quit being a quitter and just stick with things and, you know, fight for what I want, man.
Awesome. And one thing that's been hard for me, you know, you get past all that stuff, but then you stay in you end up becoming complacent and stay in your comfort zone.
Totally.
Else we need to quit. You know, we need to quit pushing ourselves and quit staying at that 80 degrees and go move up to the 125 like you were mentioned earlier.
Yep.
Oh, and then, you know, then you'll never want to go back there, and you'll grow so much more from it, and you'll thank yourself for doing that.
Right. Yep.
I love that you put that on there. You know, so just simple. It could be simple little tweaks. And I like the saying, you know, it's simple, but it's not easy.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, man. Yeah. I think you just always have to be improving yourself. And whether that's through a podcast or through, you know, an audiobook or, you know, a YouTube video or whatnot. I mean, I lost track of the numerous hours that I spent on YouTube just listening to motivational speakers from Les Brown to Jim Rohn and, you know, Ed Milet and, you know, massive others.
Oh yeah, and I'm on there all the time listening to those, or I've got Audible on my truck all the time when I'm driving.
Nice.
You know, and going back to what we were talking about before, you know, if not knowing everything, you know, you'll figure it out.
Yeah.
I spent several hours YouTubing how to put videos on YouTube.
Right. Sure.
There's resources out there.
Yeah.
You'll figure it out. If you want it bad enough, if the desire's there, you'll figure it out.
Totally.
Post it on Facebook. Hey, who knows about posting videos on YouTube? Yeah, you might get embarrassed for 20 minutes, but oh well, go get it done.
Yep. Totally.
You'll figure it out, and you'll be so glad you did and stuff. I remember one time I heard even Ed Milet. He's like, when I first started, I didn't know anything about it. I recorded a whole episode, and I forgot to hit record.
Right. Yeah, totally. I remember that.
So I made this whole episode and stuff, and no recording.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I love that. 2 more questions.
Sure.
What would you say to people, wanting to start a business, start a podcast, start something that they feel is kind of one of their desires, passions, but they have no idea? What would you advise them? A couple quick bits of advice.
Yeah, I mean, definitely do something that you're passionate about, right? I mean, I'm very passionate and fascinated by people's stories. And so that was why I started the podcast. I selfishly wanted to just talk with people that I knew, right? And then I was like, well, if I'm inspired by it, then probably other people are inspired by it, right? So whether that's podcasting or starting a business or anything like that, do something that you're passionate about and find all the resources that are available to you to help you get there. And you can start businesses for really cheap if you find the right resources. And you can do things that can improve your business for really cheap, if no money at all, if you find the right resources. And I think it's all about getting that mentality of like, I deserve this, right? Who cares about the past? Who cares about any past failures that you've done? Or I've tried this business, it didn't work. This is your thing. Find what you're passionate about and keep fighting no matter what. Look, I've been doing Top Rated MMA for 9 years now. And it's not a full-time business. I would love it to, but I'm not quite there yet. But I'm just now in the last 3 years trying to it's essentially breaking out over the last 3 years. And we're humbly considered the #1 MMA podcast out here in the Northwest, but it's because I've consistently done work to it. And so if you're out there and you're trying to do a podcast or start a business, consistently be learning about that and just always improve and stay consistent, and it will happen.
Awesome. I love that. And, there are so many resources. Would I be wrong if I said that you'd even be willing to give advice and help others if they wanted to reach out to you and ask you particular questions?
Totally. Yeah. I'm on Clubhouse. So I'm typically in a lot of the rooms there. And that's a huge resource, I think, for anybody that's looking to get started on Clubhouse or get ideas around business or podcast or past podcasting or anything like that. I'm actually in the process right now of developing some courses that are going to be available on my website here, probably in the next few months. But it'll basically be a how-to podcast course that'll be free. And then we'll allow that, or we'll put that out. I said probably a couple months out, but we are just about done with it on this side, and then we'll make some tweaks and edits and things like that. But yeah, absolutely. People can DM me on Instagram. That's probably the best way to get a hold of me, or through Clubhouse. If you're happen to be in a room, just follow me on there and then we could connect. Absolutely.
Awesome. So there are great resources. Erik's one of them. I'm one of them. If anyone needs help with anything or has any questions, even if it sounds silly or stupid, ask away. You'll regret not asking more than you'll regret embarrassment.
Absolutely.
You kind of answered and segued into question number 2 is, where can people reach you? You mentioned Instagram and Clubhouse.
Yeah, we're on Instagram. It's just Erik G. It's Erik G Allen. That's my personal account. And then from there, you can find Top Rated MMA and Bearded Biz on that. ErikAllenMedia.com is the website where you can find all the resources. You can hire me to speak. I've got some items on there in regards to like products that I do. But also, like I said, we're going to be putting out trainings. We're going to be putting out free courses to really help people in the podcasting room, especially. But also just connect you with people that are interested in maybe getting a website. I have the connections that I can connect you with and things like that. So ErikAllenMedia.com, Erik G Allen on Instagram and Clubhouse and Twitter as well. So feel free to reach out. Happy to connect. And I always love connecting with new people. So please reach out.
Awesome. Like you said, it could be as simple as, hey, Erik, love to chat with you, blah, 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 blah.
Totally.
I responded to one of your posts and stuff, and that's how we connected. So it's very quick and easy. Again, thank you for that. And we'll post those links in the comments with the video and audio as well.
Awesome.
Erik, again, thank you so much for being here and talking about your your story with your personal and your business and podcast and everything. So thank you for taking the time. And everyone tuning in, thank you for tuning in. We hope this helped. We hope you share it. And please let us know how we can help you. Dread No Mondays.